Hey, what's up, all? My name is Greg. Welcome to the channel. And today I wanted to talk about the day Thursday and which planet is related to Thursday, and that is the planet Jupiter. But first, like I've been saying, I wanted to talk about I'm offering 25% off of Thunder Astrology readings for the month of December. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link on the bottom. Just click that on, and I'd be happy to help you out. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Jupiter and its association with Thursday. That being the fifth day of the week. The number five in Vedic astrology has to do with law, intelligence, and manifestation. And the English word Thursday comes from the Teutonic tribes, the Northern European tribes. They worship a god called Thor. This is the god of thunder and lightning. And they got the term Thursday from being associated with Jupiter. They called that day Thor's Day, and then from that came Thursday. And yeah, I wanted to talk about that. As far as Jupiter in the solar system, it is the largest planet in the Vedic astrology. I think in Western too. I think it's the largest planet period out there. Yeah, it's the largest one. Unless you want to include the sun, but it is the largest planet in the solar system. And it has to do with positivity, optimism. So that being the largest planet out there, it really does have to do with that is the goal. Since the planets are the manifestations of our energy, the goal is to become optimistic, positive, to really know your soul, to really grow in a karmic sense, to expand your energy to the point where you are spiritually aware, mentally aware, emotionally mature. And yeah, that I think it's that red spot on Venus. It has to do with the storm. It's just a storm that's been going on for who knows how long. But I know ever since the astronomers been looking at Venus, it's been that storm's been going on. I think since the 1800s, since they've been doing that. And just that little red spot, that storm is like you can fit 3 Earths inside of that storm. So it's a humongous planet. So that just shows the potential for human beings to expand and grow in a positive sense. So it only represents that expansive type of an energy, growing spiritually, which has to do with tolerance, not judging a book by its cover, which on this planet is really what's affecting and pulling us downwards, stalling our growth, like in terms of racism, people who are not stepping all over people to grow in their careers, you know what I mean, walking all over people, screwing people over. You see a lot of that in this world, like being two-faced, people being friendly to people in their face. I know I've seen this at jobs, even just out socializing. People being cool to somebody in their face, the minute that person walks away, they're talking a bunch of crap about them. They can't talk to this person and let them know what's on their mind, what's bothering them, because their immediate way of expressing what's going on in their mind is to just turn towards anger and violence. And they don't want to say it to that person like that, because who knows what's going to happen. But then again, later on too, certain types of people love that kind of confrontation too. But yeah, it's an imbalance. It's an imbalance of Jupiter. I know growing up where I grew up, I know there was a lot of racism and judging people by their look, in terms of even like the music they listened to. I know growing up in the 70s and the 80s, I grew up listening to rock music of the 70s. being into all of that type of stuff. And I think around, what was it, 1979 when rap music came around. That was the first worldwide, or maybe just national release, that Sugar's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang, Rapper's Delight. And that was going on in my neighborhood. Everybody was listening to that. And I was too. I was into that, started getting into the rap music too when it first was created. And at the same time, I'm listening to Kiss, Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Led Zeppelin, you know. And, but still, there was a lot of other people that were judging that stuff, judging rap music and having a lot of hatred and racism towards it. And these are types of people that would listen to rock music. And you find out, if you know the history of rock music, it came from black people, African people. This goes back to Africa, as far as the tribal drums. And then that music was brought over to the Americas, against their will and all that crap. But then that eventually turned into gospel music, which came into blues and jazz. And all this is what sparked rock and roll of the 50s. And then the rock music of the 60s, the hard rock of the late 60s. And then the heavy metal of the 70s. And then we go to the mid-70s, we get into the punk rock. And it starts getting even more hardcore into the 80s. Heavy metal music starts turning into speed metal music and all the different branches of speed metal, black metal, death metal, all kinds of metal. So all this stuff's roots come from African people. And I notice in my neighborhoods, people who are racist are people that listen to African music, It's a trip. But yeah, Jupiter. Jupiter is an expansive energy. It's a very optimistic, has to do with luck. What else did I want to say about it? It has to do with spiritual law, growing, which I've been talking about right now. The negative side effects are being overly optimistic. That has to do with when you're too optimistic, you're maybe not judging people, or you're not seeing who people really are. That makes you put down that guard, and you're susceptible to maybe a deceptiveness from other people. Sometimes, yeah, it has a way of showing who people really are too at times too. So you learn from those experiences, and you know how to be not so unguarded as far as being optimistic. This has to do with maybe you're out partying, drinking. It's like, hey, I'll pay for everything. Yeah. And then the next morning you're like, man, my pockets are empty. You're being overly generous, It has to do with the devotion to the significant other. Being very loyal, honest, communication-wise. In the Thunder Wizard tradition, Jupiter sits in the northeast, and that is the home of the celestial gods. These are the gods of timelessness. They live way up there in the ethers. The northeast is the next going clockwise. The north is here, and then we go clockwise into the northeast. The north is the water world, the unmanifested waters. And then it goes into the northeast, and it starts combining with the ether element to start manifesting into the world in a materialistic fashion. Then when you get to the east, that's when you got the full-blown ether. But that northeast section, that's the combination of these unmanifested waters and the ether element combining together. And that's it's an expansive energy. And we got Jupiter in that direction, expanding us. In the Vedic tradition, the Jupiter represents the priest. And this is associated with the god Thor. In the Norse mythology, he is a god of thunder and lightning, and he wields a hammer. We all know that from the movie. And in the Indian tradition, there's a god called Indra, and he is associated with lightning and thunder also. And then we got that what was it, Roman god? Yeah, there was a Roman god called Jupiter, and he was the hurler of lightning bolts. And I was watching this one of the streams of the Thunder Wizard the other day. He was talking about that I don't know, I forget the name of that African religion where he learned drumming, but there was a god, the god in their tradition also, the god of thunder and lightning. He wields a hammer too. So you got all these connections with all these different ancient religions, and like he was saying, like they weren't in communication with each other back then, you know. They weren't tweeting to each other. So they were picking up on these energies from the universe that were filtering through the way they perceive and think of the world and through their culture, and these gods were manifesting in these different types of forms, these different names. And so there's really no coincidences that these gods of lightning kind of do have the same familiarities, the same, like one of the hammer wielding and having to do with the electromagnetic force of thunder and lightning. It's a trip how all these connections happen. And yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about is that connection with Jupiter and Thursday. So if anybody's interested in getting that Thunder Astrology reading, I'm giving 25% off in December. So just click the link below, and I'd love to help you guys out. All right, talk to you guys later. Peace.